So let's start with the Washington Wizards. Last season, won 35 games. Over under this year, 24 and a half. That means they need to win 35 games. Now, the argument for the Wizards is, first of all, they're not particularly young. You know, if you're like me and you spend half your day on HispanosNBA.com, you'd find
Great site. Great site.
great
Shout
site.
out.
Only site doing this, as far as I know. The Wizards have the 11th oldest roster in the league, average age of 26 and a half. And that's because they have vets like DeLon Wright, Tyus Jones, Kuzma, Jordan Poole, Daniel Gafford, all rotation guys entering at least their fifth season in the NBA. And you
Taj
add in
Gibson, Mike Muscala. How's Taj Gibson still in the
Yes.
league? What's going on here?
14 years of experience, I saw. And then you add in, actually, Taj is probably weighting this really heavily, that average age. You add in Denny Avdia, Corey Kispert. I mean, that's seven guys I just named that most people feel are rotation NBA players. And you compare that to the rosters that teams like OKC or Detroit or Houston were throwing out these last couple seasons. For the worst team in the league, at least by over under, to have a roster like this, it does feel kind of unique. Like this roster has a lot more kind of proven veteran experienced players compared to the bad teams we're used to year. And I do think that's interesting. And because they have all those vets, you know, their main rookie, who is Bilal Coulibaly, he's not going to be probably asked to shoulder a huge scoring load. And so he might be able to contribute to winning basketball right off the bat because he can just, lean back on his defense. And he's been looking very good defensively in the preseason. So I think those are the main arguments for the Wizards.
Yeah. Also, Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole, I know that this is somebody that the NBA community likes to dog on,
Yes.
But he's a good player and can really score. And he's not a non-passer. I mean, he averaged 4.5 assists for the Warriors last season in a kind of a weird year for him. I just think the NBA world is collectively sleeping on him a bit. Also, they have a lot of shooting off the bench. On any given night, and this happened last night in the preseason, Mike Muscala came off the bench and hit 5 threes just like that.
We love Moose.
We like Moose. Danilo Gallinari off the bench for them is another shooter. You got Corey Kispert coming off the bench for them. Patrick Baldwin Jr. is on this team. What? They just have some shooting. Landry Shamet. All these guys coming off the bench that can just kind of light it up on any given night. They have a lot of shooting coming off the bench. There's something about this team, man. I don't know. This is one of my, I know that their over-under is very low and they should stink. This team should stink, but I just get this feeling about them that I can't shake.
Now, did the video of Jordan Poole and Denny Avdia arguing affect this at all? Did you start worrying about the chemistry? Maybe all the things that Poole are doing aren't necessarily contributing to winning basketball?
No, what it made me think is they actually care.
Okay.
They say when you're still fighting, that's that you still care. So I think that I think that they actually care.
Wow. That's a really impassioned argument for the Washington Wizards to start us off. So the arguments against. Now, this front office made up of Sam Presti disciples, even though we just named all those vets, it seems reasonable to think that they might be willing to move off of some of those vets during the season if a good deal presents itself. That's kind of been the MO for Presti teams like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the bigger argument against them for me, against them being the surprise team, is in the last 3 seasons, the Wizards have won 34, 35, and 35 games. Very, very consistent are those Washington Wizards. Can we really imagine them going through everything they went through this summer? Their owner finally relents, finally willing to do a rebuild. They trade Porzingis, they trade Bradley Beal, all to win 35 games again. Is that really going to happen?
I think it's extremely possible. I think they have a lot of depth. They have a lot of depth that nobody really wants to take a look at this Wizards team. Nobody wants to talk about them, let alone actually put them under the microscope. But when you look at their depth, they're really good. The only thing that I think they're truly lacking is leadership. Is Tyus Jones the leader of this team? Is it I mean, maybe I don't think of him as like some like big vocal leader. So then the concern is like, is it Kyle Kuzma? Is it Poole? You know, Poole's loud. He's going to be loud. So if he's your leader, I I think it becomes a lot more shaky.
Yeah.
But yeah, that to me is like the biggest thing because I think depth is there. When you look at some of these other teams, like I mean, the Celtics would love to borrow a bunch of Wizards to come off their bench. They would love to switch benches with the Wizards like any day of the week. Um, they've acquired a lot of depth because they've made a lot of trades.
So, yeah, if you want to pick the Wizards surprise team, on the one hand, maybe you say to yourself, "Hey, winning 35 games would be the most Wizardsy thing ever to do, for 4 straight
Mm-hmm.
seasons." So maybe I do feel comfortable with that. Maybe that doesn't throw me off.